I'm joined by Deputy Lindsay de Sausmarez, newly elected as the President of the Policy and Resources Committee. Lindsay, just quickly tell us how you felt when the result was declared and you realised you had won, and not just won, but on the first ballot very convincingly.
Yeah, I mean, I was really surprised. I mean, it's a great habit to form if it is a habit. But I was up against, obviously, two former members of Policy and Resources. So I was aware during the questions that they were likely to know the mandate and some of the detail of the matters that questions were being asked on much more than I was likely to. So I was really surprised at that vote.
But you will have run the numbers previously. You would have had an idea of whose support you had. How close was the final figure of 22 supporting you to what you thought you would get when you went in?
I'm not much of a running the numbers kind of person, actually. I didn't go around lobbying people for their votes at all. I was very touched, I suppose, and encouraged by the number of people who volunteered their support. So I'm quite superstitious in that respect. I certainly didn't go in with a number in my head. I just did my best. So, yeah.
The message from the election, to some extent, is about voters wanting change, perhaps change in style and tone as much as policy. Can you just tell us a little bit about what leadership style you're going to bring to this role?
Possibly quite different to what we've had in recent years. My style is much more collaborative. I know that just sounds like a cliche these days because that's what the narrative, what everyone's talking about sort of through the election campaign. But it genuinely is the way I've always tried to operate, and it has been a successful strategy in that respect. So as President of the Committee for the Environment and Infrastructure, we found it just a much more sensible approach to involve all the people in, who are going to be affected by a policy in the shaping of that policy development. And as a result, you get a much more workable policy out of it, and you don't hit the opposition that you might if you'd just taken a decide and defend approach. So I do find it to be very effective. But I would say as well that there's just a very different feel about this assembly. It does feel younger, more dynamic, perhaps a bit more sort of future facing. And certainly today's contested elections did not feel adversarial at all. Deputy Helyar, when he spoke to one of the questions, did say that this time 5 years ago, he did feel like he'd walked into a battleground, and that is certainly how things felt. I'm hopeful that the way this assembly feels and the way that it's everyone's interacting at the moment is a sign of a much more united assembly.
Your first task, having been elected, will be to propose 4 members of your new committee tomorrow when the States reconvenes. Who are you going to propose?
I haven't made that public yet. I've got.
I'm inviting you to make it public now.
I know you are, and I'm going to kindly decline that offer. But yeah.
How close are you to knowing which 4 you want to propose?
Yeah, pretty much there. Yeah.
And then later in the week, the States will elect presidents of other committees. How close are you to knowing the lineup of presidents who you will propose for those roles?
That is a much harder challenge, actually, because I think that it's important to get a good spread of skills across the Assembly. I'm certainly really keen that no one is left out in the cold. I think that was one of the mistakes that was made in the last Assembly, was actually people with a lot of skills and experience were just sort of shut out of the process and not given even ordinary seats on committees. And I'm very keen that we avoid that kind of approach. I really hope that we can help as many people as possible find a role that suits their skills and interests, and that we get some good committees as a result. But it's about distribution. You often find that there's a real surge of interest in 1 or 2 committees, and then not very much interest in others. So it's about having conversations and trying to get as effective a distribution across the Assembly as we can.
You are the first woman to lead the State Senior Committee. Does that matter to you?
I know it matters to a lot of other people. I would like to think that I've been elected because I'm the best person for the role, irrespective, but it is perhaps a little bit surprising that we're in 2025 and that best person has never yet been female. So I'm glad to have brought a bit of change in that respect. I was stopped over the weekend by a business leader who actually said to me, "I'm so glad you're standing for the role of president of P&R, because I think you've got all the right qualities and you do a great job. But also, as an added benefit, I just would like my daughters and the other young women in the island to be able to see that sometimes the best person can look like them." So I think it does make a difference to other people, and I'm very pleased to be able to to be able to provide hopefully a little bit of a bit more confidence for other people looking at what they aspire to.
One of P&R's central tasks is going to be to return to the States with recommendations to how to move forward on tax and public finances. And there were some differences between the three candidates on that today. Can you just outline what is your starting position going to be? How are you going to approach this problem that the States has voted, the outgoing States voted for GST Plus? There is a timetable for its implementation. Voters seem to want this new States to do something slightly different. How are you going to get over that?
Yeah, I think that there need to be parallel tracks of work. I'm certainly not supportive of chucking a spanner in the works of anything that's going on at the moment, because time is of the essence. But I think it is also clear that the electorate has effectively, through the election results, asked the States to look again and make sure that there is no stone left unturned when it comes to options before new taxes are introduced. So I am advocating that we set up a special committee, which is called a SEAC in States terms, and that we populate that with the people who are best placed to have a look at some of those issues. But I do think there is a mandate for that work to be carried out. And actually, I think that of the three candidates, I think all of the candidates did accept that there should be that degree of investigation, because clearly the public is not comprehensively behind the GST package. I think it is quite nuanced. There is clearly a desire to look into other options. So I do think we need to do that properly. And most importantly, we need to show our workings. We need to involve the community, and we need to bring them along on whatever that final package looks like, or final set of solutions looks like.
OK, Deputy Lindsay de Sausmarez, we wish you well. I'm sure we'll catch up with you again tomorrow when your committee has been elected. But for now, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.